Good afternoon, Member Medina.
Sorry, I was muted. Hi, how are you?
Hi, you're very low. For those that are joining, make sure that you are selecting the English channel using the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, is that better?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair Vargas.
Good afternoon. I love speaking to all of you while I'm muted. Sorry.
For those that are joining, please make sure that you select the English channel using the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen so that we're able to hear you and so that you can hear us. We're still waiting for a few more members so that we'll have a quorum.
Thank you.
Chair Vargas, you have a quorum. I would like to ask everyone before we get started, please select the English channel at the bottom of your screen using the interpretation button so that you're able to hear the meeting and so that we're able to hear you. I'm probably going to say that 20 more times, so please bear with me.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. I am now going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 2:01 p.m. Welcome to the April 14, 2022 meeting of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Governing Board. Before we begin this meeting, I would like to inform the public that simultaneous Spanish language interpretation is available. I would ask my colleagues to please select the English option using the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen. Once it becomes available after the interpreter explains the accessibility features in Spanish, I'm going to turn it over to our interpreter. I'm assuming it's happening. I don't really know. Right?
Yes, yes. Every,
Somebody will let me know.
thank you. Chair Vargas, are you able to hear us?
Oh, I can hear you. I'm waiting for you because I don't know. I'm waiting for the Spanish piece to be done.
She's completed.
Oh, okay. Nobody told me, but I can't hear her. Can other people hear her? Or him?
Yes.
Oh, I can't hear the interpreter at all.
She might not be, Chair Vargas, you might not be on the English channel.
Okay,
If you click on the interpretation button and then select English,
there you go.
She switched to the Spanish.
No, I wasn't on any. I have never done that before, so I don't even know how that happened because that has never happened to me before. So anyway, I'll make sure that I make a note that I have to switch to some sort of language before I start, because that's why I was just sitting here. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
thank you, Chair Vargas. I would like to ask all meeting participants, including members of the public, to please select your preferred language using the interpretation button at the bottom of the screen. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that members Lawson Remer and Member Bush have notified the clerk of the board that they will be absent from today's proceedings. All remaining board members are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be taken by roll call vote. With that, Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Present.
Member Ilo Rivera,
Present.
Member Gomez,
Here.
Member Martinez,
Here.
Member Medina,
Here,
Member Shu,
Here.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas here. All right, thank you. I'd like to remind board members to please turn your cameras on and ask that you mute your microphone if you're not speaking. If you'd like to comment, please raise your hand and I'm going to recognize you. When I ask that your votes, please say your last name after each vote. And the next item is public communication. We'll now move to that item. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board on any subject matter within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on today's agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any members of the public that wish to address the board under this item?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We have received no request to speak under this item. However, if there are any members of the public that are on the teleconference line now that wish to address the board on this item, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom or press *9 at this time so that you can be acknowledged. Actually, I see Member Bush has his hand raised, so he is joining us. Outside of that, I see no hands raised. So there are no members of the public wishing to address the board on this item today.
Yes, okay, the next item is, well, are there any, okay, never mind. Well, we're now going to move to the approval of the March 10th, 2022 San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Governing Board Statement of Proceedings. Before we move forward for approval, Madam Clerk, are there any members of the public that wish to address the board under this item today?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We have received no request to speak. But again, if there are any members of the public that are currently on our teleconference line that wish to address the board on this item, please press star 9 at this time or use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Seeing no hands raised, there are no members of the public wishing to address the board on this item.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the March 10, 2022 statement of proceedings?
So moved, Madam Chair, by Sanchez.
Sanchez, is there a second?
Second Gomez.
Sanchez and Gomez. There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Yes, Birkbeck Garcia.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Ilo Rivera,
Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, aye.
Member Shu,
Shu, yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you. All right. We will now move on to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, can you please provide the public testimony instructions for those members on the public that wish to move an item from the consent calendar to the regular agenda for discussion?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We have received no request to speak on this item. However, if there are members of the public that are joining our conference call that wish to address the board on this item, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom or press star 9 at this time so that we can acknowledge you. Seeing no hands raised, there are no items that the public wishes to pull from consent to the regular agenda.
Are there any questions from my colleagues, or do any board members wish to move a matter from the consent calendar to the regular agenda? All right, is there a motion to approve the April 14, 2022 consent calendar? There's a motion. Is there a motion? Vice Chair Sanchez?
Sanchez moves,
Sorry, go ahead.
moves approval.
Martinez, second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, aye.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Ilo Rivera,
Ilo Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, aye.
Member Shu,
Shu, aye.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion adopts the following resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing Continuance of Teleconference Public Meetings Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953 subsection E. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you. We will now move on to our additional agenda items. Our first agenda item for discussion is item E1, adoption of proposed amendments to Rule 40, permit and other fees, and Rule 42 here in board fees fiscal year 2023. Madam Clerk, can you please provide the public testimony instructions?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We have received no requests from the public to speak on this item. However, if there are any members of the public that have joined this teleconference call and wish to address the board, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom at this time or press star 9 and we will acknowledge you. Seeing no hands raised, there is no public testimony on this item.
Right. So there has been on this item, there has been a staff presentation that is prepared in case anybody has questions, but if there is no questions, I can entertain a motion to vote as well. So it's at the pleasure of the board. Is there a motion to approve?
Shu moves to approve this.
Is there a second?
Gomez, seconds.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, aye.
Wait. I
Oh,
forgot.
sorry.
Is there any public comments? I got ahead of myself.
no, there are no public comments on this item.
All right, we'll check each other, Madam Clerk. No problem. All right, seeing no public comments, go ahead and we can now we'll call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, I.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera,
Elo Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, I.
Member Shu,
Shu, aye.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, I.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you very much. Our next agenda item number E2 is item for consideration is the appointments of members to the Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board and termination of member appointment. I'm going to now ask, I'm going to turn it over to our Air Pollution Control Officer, Paula Forbes, to provide a brief comments on this item before I open the public hearing for appointment of members to the Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board. Ms. Forbes, you may begin.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. The first requested action related to the hearing board appointments today is to terminate the appointment of Thomas Gardner to the APCD hearing board. Mr. Gardner was appointed as an alternate public member of the hearing board by the prior APCD board, and his term will not expire until October 13th of this year. However, Mr. Gardner has not responded to various attempts to contact him via phone, email, and certified mail over the last several months, and he has not complied with state law requirements for sexual harassment training and Form 700 requirements. So we have been informed that he's moved out of state, and we're thus requesting that the board vote to terminate Mr. Gardner's appointment so that a replacement may be appointed at a subsequent board meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Forbes, is there a motion to terminate appointment of alternate public hearing board member Tom Gardner from the Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board?
I'll make a motion.
Vice Chair, yes.
I'll second. Shu, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk. Actually, is there any public comment on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have received no written requests for public comment on this item. However, if there are any members of the public that have joined the teleconference and wish to address the board at this time, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom or press *9 to raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you. Seeing no hands raised, there's no public testimony on this portion of the item.
Okay. With that, may you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, I.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera,
Elo Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, I.
Member Shu,
Shu, aye.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, I.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you very much. The next item is I'm not going to open up now to the public hearing for appointment of members to the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board. Today, we have one application to consider for the alternate medical professional member seat. The applicant will have 2 minutes to briefly introduce themselves, followed by any questions this board may have. After interviews and any questions that we may have, public comment will be received, and at the conclusion of the public comment, the board will consider nominations and make appointments. Are there any questions from or comments from any of my colleagues before we begin? All right, seeing none, I am going to go ahead and Madam Clerk, we can begin the interviews for the alternate medical professional member.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Vargas. Right now in our attendee queue, I don't see Ms. James. However, if you're calling in Ms. James, can you please press *9 at this time so I can move you into the panelist queue? Again, Ms. James, if you are in our queue, can you please press *9 or use the raise hand feature so that we can acknowledge you at this time for your interview? Seeing no hands raised, I will have to assume that Ms. James is not present for her interview.
Ms. Forbes, should we go ahead and table this item then? Or
Yes, I think
what is your
Chair
recommendation?
Vargas.
Yeah, it
I was-
requires it. This is Greg Lusitano of Legal Counsel. It requires an interview as in public hearing. So yeah, we'll need to table this item.
Council, can I ask a question if you don't mind, Chair Vargas?
Not at all.
Could we postpone this item to the end of today's agenda just to see if Ms. James is able, Dr. James, I'm not sure, is able to join us subsequently at the meeting?
Absolutely. And perhaps in the meantime, staff can try to track her down and get her to participate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can confirm that I spoke with her over the phone and that she was going to attend. She confirmed that she would be present today. So I'm not sure if something happened or not, but we can hold off until the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and postpone this item. Is that the correct language?
We can table
Yeah.
this item to the
Table.
end of the, to
Well-
after item E4.
Yeah, let's go ahead and table it, but let's have a vote, a motion to table and then a second and then vote on that.
Okay,
All right, I just want to make sure we follow the rules accordingly. All right, Madam Vice
Right
Chair.
here.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to table this item until the end of the meeting or when she makes herself understood that she's here.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the second.
The second was from Member Bush.
Member Bush, thank you. Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, I.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera,
Blue Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, I.
Member Shu,
Shu, I.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
All right. So, just for clarification, council, do I close the hearing then?
For this particular item, it is closed. We can move on to item 3. And why don't we move the table item to, we'll make it new item 5 after item 4.
Okay. And
Put it at the end of the agenda items.
the next item is, one second. So the next agenda item is the approval of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District's Office of Environmental Justice Framework. That's one of the most exciting items that we have today. It's the coolest office that we've created in the county of San Diego. I'm really excited about this, actually. So Madam Clerk, can you please provide the public testimony instructions for this item?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. I would ask those members of the public that have requested to speak on this item to please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. You may also indicate that you wish to speak on this item by using the raise hand feature through Zoom or by pressing *9 now. Your testimony will be heard at the conclusion of the staff presentation.
Thank you. We have a staff presentation that has been prepared by Mr. Vigil. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Vigil.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Madam Clerk, can we please upload the presentation to the screen? And I believe we are at the last one of the additional slides. There we go. All right. Good morning, Chair Vargas, members of the board, and members of the public. I'm Domingo Vigil, Deputy Director with APCD. The item before you seeks the approval of a framework for APCD's Office of Environmental Justice. APCD's Office of Environmental Justice, or Office of EJ, will work to intentionally and specifically integrate environmental justice considerations in all agency actions. This includes support for meaningful community engagement and the promotion of environmental justice and equity in APCD's decision-making processes. In the following slides, I will go over background information for the creation of APCD's Office of EJ, outreach efforts, and the proposed framework. Next slide, please. On September 30th, 2020, the County of San Diego Air Pollution Control Board directed the Air Pollution Control Officer to assign a deputy director and a public information officer to support the development and implementation of strategies to engage environmental justice stakeholders and the Community Air Protection Program, community in policy and budget development, and priority setting. Also, these staff will help shape agency programs, including permit fee structures, APCD rule development, the Community Air Protection Program, and facilitate multilingual community relations. The Portside Community Emissions Reduction Plan also calls for the establishment of an Office of Environmental Justice within APCD and for the development of a framework for this office, which is brought before you today for approval. Next slide, please. To develop this framework, APCD staff gathered information within the agency by developing an internal survey for APCD employees and forming an internal environmental justice working group within APCD. Staff also incorporated commitments identified in the Portside Community Emissions Reduction Plan. All the information and input gathered was used to create the framework. Once the draft framework was produced, staff published it for public comments and conducted a public workshop. Staff also gathered input from the APCD Governing Board Ad Hoc Governance Committee, the Portside Community Steering Committee, and the SERB Maritime Clean Air Strategy Implementation Subcommittee. Next slide, please. To guide the development of the framework, staff looked at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's definition of environmental justice and incorporated input from staff and the public to define it as the equitable treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, income, gender, or ability, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Next slide, please. The framework identifies internal and external responsibilities for the Office of EJ. The Office of EJ will work internally within and across APCD programs to keep board members and staff informed on matters of environmental justice and equity, work with staff to uphold an internal culture of equity, diversity, and inclusion that reflects externally on the services we provide, ensure the agency as a whole considers equity and environmental justice when addressing environmental and air quality challenges. The Office of EJ will work externally with all stakeholders to identify opportunity areas to better serve communities on air quality matters, prioritizing disadvantaged communities, expand opportunities for public engagement that result in meaningful participation in decision-making. An important tool to do this is our public participation plan, which is our next item on today's meeting agenda. Finally, we will work collaboratively with communities, other agencies, and organizations to improve air quality in a more comprehensive way. To support these internal and external responsibilities, the framework identifies 5 main goals supported by strategies under each goal. Next slide, please. Goal 1 focuses on providing information to your board as well as the hearing board to support your decision-making process on addressing air pollution in disproportionately impacted areas. To accomplish this, staff will develop materials highlighting the health effects of air pollution, a map of the region with a focus on the highest risk communities and how they compare to the rest of the county. We will provide updates to the Air Toxics Hotspots Program, Air Monitoring Program, and air pollution trends among the disadvantaged communities. And we will engage individual board members on environmental justice communities in the districts they represent to build upon the data APCD has on those communities, especially those communities APCD has not engaged with yet. Next slide, please. Goal 2 focuses on supporting an internal culture of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Some of these strategies to accomplish this include providing staff with training opportunities on these important values, as well as supporting activities that celebrate the diversity of the APCD team. We will also share information across divisions to understand how each division specifically contributes to environmental equity and create outreach pieces to highlight this message internally and externally. Next slide, please. Goal 3 supports the integration of environmental justice and equity across all of our operations, policies, and regulations. To accomplish this goal, we will identify commitments from each program within APCD to support environmental justice. We will engage environmental justice stakeholders in policy and budget development, monitoring network planning, and planning efforts to meet air quality standards and protect public health, and continue making improvements to air quality at the community level by implementing and expanding the Community Air Protection Program in environmental justice communities. Next slide, please. Goal 4 supports improving public outreach and education to increase public participation. This goal and the related strategies go hand in hand with the APCD's proposed public participation plan, which is included in today's meeting agenda. The strategies under this goal would foster more community involvement in APCD services and decision-making processes, would enhance language access to reach communities we have not actively engaged with in the past, and increased awareness of important programs of interest to the community. Next slide, please. Finally, Goal 5 highlights the importance of having a collaborative approach with other agencies to better address air quality concerns and needs of the communities we serve. The strategies to support this goal include advocacy work to support air quality policies and regulation that are outside of APCD's purview, such as for mobile sources. Partnering with organizations and government agencies to comprehensively address air pollution, including federal agencies like the U.S. Environmental Protection Agencies, state agencies like the California Air Resources Board, and local government like the County of San Diego's Office of Environmental and Climate Justice. And collaborating and sharing information with Mexican government agencies to increase understanding of shared air quality challenges in the binational air basin and work towards collaborative solutions. Next slide, please. The proposed Office of EJ framework sets overarching goals and strategies for APCD that will ensure equity and environmental justice considerations permeate through all agency programs. Today's recommendation is to approve the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District's Office of Environmental Justice framework. Next slide, please. This concludes today's presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you for the thoroughness on the presentation, Domingo. I think it was a long time coming and everybody's super excited. And I said county and I meant to say APCD. But it's just a really exciting time. It will, I think, be very much parallel to the work that we're doing at the county. And I just think it's really, really an exciting time, especially with what we're hearing at the state level with CARB and some of the concerns that folks have around the scoping plan and where the world of environmental justice sits right now. I just think this is such a powerful piece of the work that APCD is doing, and to be incorporating now with under new leadership. So congratulations on the great work. But let me go ahead and open up the floor to see if we have any public comments, and then I'll turn it over to any of my colleagues to see if they have any comments as well. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We have one request to speak on this item. I will call the speaker by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You will hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. At that time, please press *6 to unmute your phone. You will be asked to state your name for the audio record, and you have 3 minutes to address the board. Please self-regulate your time, and please conclude your comments when your time has ended. I would remind the speaker to please mute your live stream before you begin speaking. Our caller is 2793. 2793. Please begin by stating your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Chair Vargas and members of the board. My name is Murtaza Baksamusa, Program Manager for Regional Sustainability at the County of San Diego's Land Use and Environment Group. On May 19th, 2021, the County of San Diego's Board of Supervisors established its own Office of Environmental and Climate Justice, or OECJ. The board adopted a roadmap including this office's roles and responsibilities this February, which was informed by what our communities saw this office doing for them. On behalf of OECJ and the county, I would like to express our support for the Air Pollution Control District's new Office of Environmental Justice and its proposed framework. The county's OECJ will work to address environmental and community health hazards in disproportionately impacted communities of San Diego's unincorporated area, as well as assist our regional partners in doing the same. We're looking forward to work collaboratively and partnering with APCD's OEJ to tackle the air pollution burdens and improve air quality for our communities while listening to the voices of those who are most impacted. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That concludes public testimony on this item.
Any member comments? Member Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and want to acknowledge the work that your team and the county staff have been doing. I had the opportunity to engage early on the discussions on the development of this office, and I really want to acknowledge your leadership on this. I think it's very important, specifically because of what this our overview of what we should be doing, which is ensuring that our air quality is good, but making sure that we're really digging deeper in areas that have been overburdened because of previous decisions, and hopefully we'll link this our responsibility to what this is intended to do, which sounds like it will be. So I just really wanted to acknowledge that there's finally a realization of accepting that wrong has been done and we have some work to do, and we're putting resources and creating a stronger focus on that. So super excited that this is moving forward and it's part of the county's agenda, and we're making it part of our responsibility as well. So super happy to support this. Thank you to staff. Thank you to your leadership as well. And yeah, I don't know if there's a motion needed. If so, more than happy to do so.
Yeah, fantastic. We have a motion. Member Martinez, and then Member Chu, and then Member Bush. I think I did that right.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just great work, and I'm really excited to see this. And I appreciate staff's work on this because I in my city role, I get to see how municipalities do public outreach, and I'm really proud of our public participation plan, and that we had an English website and a dedicated Spanish website. So I think we're on the right track, and I think it's smart for us to partner with other municipalities and community-based organizations to have the furthest reach for our work. So I'm just really excited, and of course count on me to be one of those champions spreading the word about all this important work. Thank you. And I'll second.
Fabulous. Member Chu?
Thank you. And I just wanted to enter some discussion points. I had the ability privilege of talking to staff about this framework, and of course I'm in support of this framework. But I wanted to bring out what came out in the discussion I had last week. One is the term equity often is misunderstood or misdefined by the public and other elected officials. So I wanted to make sure that we use the correct definition of equity. And with regards to APCD and our work, what that means to me is to have outcome measures in which until the cancer rates are the same in these communities that we're particularly concerned about, the county environmental screening communities are the same as the rest of the county, we have not achieved equity. Until asthma rates, cancer rates, and health impacts are the same, we still have a problem with regards to equity. So I hope that we develop benchmarks along those lines. Benchmarks, meaning that we have a standard, and then we have a timeline in which we will achieve those equity standards. And I don't know if we can do that now, but I hope in the future that we do work towards that end so that 5-10 years from now, we actually make those achieve those goals. We're doing that with climate action plans for greenhouse gas emissions. We should be able to do that with pollution that's causing illness in our community. So let's define equity correctly and give us some environmental justice goals within our region that we can achieve in the next 5-10 years. Thank you.
I really appreciate that because I would actually challenge us that what we found in the county when we were, especially now that we're doing our decarbonization work, is that particularly to the climate action goals, each of the cities, most of the cities don't have an equity, equity-minded goals, and they're all defined differently, which is, I think, something that we can work on together. But to your point, Member Shu, one of the recommendations that I was going to bring forth to the governance committee, and I would like to take some of the comments that you provided today so that the governance committee at our next meeting can actually have a conversation. So this is just for information, is that we actually come up with developing an equity statement that reflects what the values are and commitment to equity from our board so that we can come back and vote on it so that it actually becomes part of our strategic plan. Ms. Forbes has been working on with the team on our strategic planning and our direction and where we're moving forward. But we don't have right now an equity impact statement either in terms of all of our recommendations and board letters and how we do our work. And so as we're formalizing all of this, I think it would behoove the governance committee to actually have a conversation and bring all of this forward. So I know council is probably looking at me weird because I know that this is not an item on the agenda. So this is just for me presenting you as a follow-up to information that your comments are duly noted, and I will be making sure that we present those to the governance committee so that the governance committee can have a discussion, bringing those forward so that we can have a conversation as a board, probably at the June meeting when we discuss our overall strategic plans, if that works for you. But the comments that you've made were duly noted, and we will make sure that those are part of that conversation if that works for you.
Thank you, Chair Rogers, for recognizing that. Just final note, the word environmental justice is not new.
No, I know.
And since the word was invented whatever time long ago, I haven't seen a lot of progress. So I hope we can have a strategy to make progress. Thank you.
Fantastic. Member Bush. You're on mute. I'm on mute. We're both on mute. Go ahead.
The whole time. Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate our staff and for especially our ED for pushing this forward. I know that this last year, really this last 2 years, we put a lot on staff. So just there's been a lot of changes, but really appreciate all your hard work, your due diligence, and just seeing this is just really inspiring for me personally. Kind of as Member Shu and Member Gomez alluded to, these fights have been going on for decades. And so if we really want to get serious, we have to put staff, we have to put resources in, because it's not just us locally, it's so much of it is state legislation and policy. And, when I read through the just the benchmarks, the 5 goals, I really see that as part of it, coordinating with the Air Resource Board and getting more state resources. So I'm really excited about this. And so fully supportive, and also want to echo what Member Martinez said, for just how that, I'm new and I'm learning a lot too. And so this is something that I would like to see replicated in my city too, in national cities, having environmental justice position. So if staff doesn't mind forwarding that PowerPoint. I'm not sure if it, I looked through the staff report and I didn't see the PowerPoint on there, but yeah, Domingo, if you don't mind forwarding that over, because it's something I would like to forward to our staff and maybe replicate. And obviously it won't be exactly the same for us as jurisdictions, but really want to encourage us on our city, all of our city councils, if we don't have this environmental justice position, we really do need to, sorry, it's loud, on a busy street. So I think it helped APCD if they're coordinating, if each of us in our jurisdictions had an environmental justice coordinator position, that would make us stronger, that make APCD stronger. I know that takes time to budget and all that, but yeah, just really want to thank staff for all the work. I'm excited about this, so thank you.
Thank you, Member Bush. And absolutely, the presentation is made available to the public right after the meeting ends. It's posted online with the rest of the meeting materials.
Great, I'll check
So
that out.
we'll make sure to forward it to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, there's no additional comments from the board members? All right. Okay, so Madam Cook, we have a motion and a second. Can you go ahead and call the vote?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, aye.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera,
Elo Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Medina, aye.
Member Shu,
Shu, aye.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Sanchez, Vargas, aye. Sanchez, aye. Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
All right. The next item is item number E4. It's our last agenda item for discussion. Approval of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District's public participation plan. Madam Clerk, can you please provide the public testimony instructions, please?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. I would like to note for the record that Dr. James has joined us, so she will be present for our next item.
Fantastic.
I have received no request from the public to speak on this item. However, if there are members of the public that are on the call that would like to address the board, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature via Zoom or by pressing *9 at this time, and your testimony will be heard at the conclusion of the staff presentation. Thank you.
All right, with that, we have a staff presentation that has been prepared for this item. I'm going to turn over to Domingo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, can we please upload the presentation? Thank you. Good morning again, Chair Vargas, members of the board and members of the public. Domingo Vigil here, Deputy Director with APCD. In 2019, the California State Auditor conducted an audit on APCD's operations. The CSA July 2020 audit report included proposed recommendations for APCD to create and implement a public participation plan to become more responsive to the public and encourage public participation. Also, one of the strategies in the recently approved Portside Community Emissions Reduction Plan calls for the development of a public participation plan to enhance the effectiveness of APCD's public outreach and engagement activities in disadvantaged communities and other communities throughout the region. At your board's January 19 meeting, a set of goals were approved to guide the development of strategies for the public participation plan. Today, we bring before you a final draft of the plan for approval. In today's presentation, we will do a quick review of the development process for the plan and an overview of the strategies included in the plan. Next slide, please. In the summer of 2021, APCD staff worked internally with APCD divisions to gather information about current outreach practices and internal needs. In July 2021, APCD brought on board a team of consultants from MIG Communications and Pueblo Planning to help develop the public participation plan. To ensure the development of the plan itself included comprehensive and strategic outreach from its initial stages, we partnered with community-based organizations, or CBOs, including the Environmental Health Coalition, Casa Familiar, Bayside Community Center, El Cajon Collaborative, Vista Community Clinic, and community members countywide. CBO partners were selected with input from the APCD Ad Hoc Governance Committee based on their relationships with communities that are most impacted by air quality issues and their geographical representation throughout the county. In partnership with our CBO partners, we conducted initial outreach in the summer and fall of 2021 to help develop the practices and principles that informed and shaped the plan. Proposed goals for the plan were approved by your board in January of the present year. The information and input provided by the CBOs, the public, and your board were incorporated into a draft plan that was published for further public comment this winter. During the public comment period, 2 public workshops were conducted to gather additional input, and consultants conducted follow-up interviews with CBOs to circle back on how their input was incorporated into the plan and gather additional final contributions to the strategies. Today, we bring the final plan to the board for your approval. Next slide, please. The core elements of the plan include community engagement principles that will serve as our code of conduct and guide our engagement approach. The proposed principles are informed by concepts of popular education, which is a teaching methodology that fosters high degree of community participation and a social awareness to affect social change. The plan also includes community priorities that inform our goals and ensure the public participation practices respond to community needs. Board-approved goals to direct our efforts to accomplish desired outcomes, which will be tracked by performance metrics, and strategies to help us achieve the goals. I will now turn it over to APCD's Public Information Officer, Melina Mesa, to provide a brief overview of the goals and strategies on the plan. Next slide, please.
This slide shows the general framework of the plan. In the following slides, I will highlight some of the strategies that were developed for each goal. Next slide, please. Part of the intent of our initial outreach was to identify community priorities for public participation. These 6 priorities are the foundation of the following list of proposed overarching goals for the plan. Next slide, please. Goal A will focus on building relationships and trust with the community. And to achieve this goal, APCD will establish partnerships with community-based organizations and neighborhood partners. We will also create a process that explains how community input influenced APCD decisions and provide timely responses to community concerns. Next slide, please. Goal B will provide tools and resources for the community. APCD will develop accessible collateral materials in multiple languages in a way that is easy to understand and explains technical air quality information. In addition, we will create a dynamic digital map-based tool so the public may have the latest information and real-time responses. Next slide, please. Goal C will aim to connect with community members and provide consistent engagement opportunities. The APCD will do this by promoting and advertising workshops in a strategic manner. We will also create partnerships with community-based organizations as a way to connect and share information with community members. Lastly, we will increase promotion of APCD's complaint program and its cell phone application. Next slide, please. Goal D will promote meaningful engagement in decision-making processes. To do this, APCD will create a plan to launch community engagement in a timely manner and engage our community partners to inform tailored community engagement strategies. We will also work to increase the community's accessibility to governing board meetings. Next slide, please. Goal E will focus on investing in an internal culture that supports community engagement. To do this, APCD will work with staff so that they can communicate effectively with the community and provide them with a community engagement toolkit to aid in this process. In addition, we will develop a process that reduces work overlap and intra-agency efforts to streamline connecting with the appropriate subject matter expert. Next slide, please. Lastly, Goal F will promote coordinated outreach and collaboration with outside organizations and agencies. To achieve this, APCD will create clear channels of communication with other government agencies to have greater clarity of overlapping projects. We'll also partner with community-based organizations to establish a welcoming space that promotes transparent outcomes. I will now turn it back to Domingo to close the presentation.
Thank you, Melina. Next slide, please. The plan before you today is the result of months of collaboration with CBOs, members of the public, and your board to develop strategies that will be implemented over the short, medium, and long term, with the goal of revisiting the plan in 3 years to make any adjustments or updates based on public needs and lessons learned. The plan also includes metrics to measure its effectiveness in enhancing public outreach and participation. Today's recommendation is for the board to approve the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District's public participation plan. Next slide, please. This concludes today's presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for the very thorough presentation. Are there any members of the public that wish to provide public testimony on this item, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Seeing no hands raised, there are no members of the public that wish to address the board on this item.
All right, let's open up the floor for board member comments. Do we have any comments or questions from the board members? Member Brooke Garcia.
Hi, I just wanted to take the time to thank everyone for your work on this. I know it was a lot of work, and we have all mentioned that it's important to get more public participation out there. I feel that you really listened to our concerns, and this was a wonderful presentation. So I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Member Chu, and then Member Ilo Rivera.
Thank you. On this side, I also want to make just a side comment. I like the goals, of course, of this plan, but I wanted to kind of define again, what do we mean, and also to have a qualitative measure. That means that occasionally we should be doing demographic data or analysis of who is commenting. So obviously, if you go into a public meeting and everyone in the public meeting is over 50 or 60 years old, you might think, well, we really didn't do a good job reaching the younger folks. Or likewise, if it's an income issue or a race and ethnicity issue. So we do need demographic checks on whether or not our public participation system is reaching a diverse group of people. And so I hope we do that kind of level of qualitative measures with our program as well as quantitative. That's not defined in the plan, but I hope that we do and understand that that's what we're after when we're dealing with public participation. Otherwise, I know in the past in other public organizations I've been with, they'll just give me a figure. We reached 500 people, another 400 commented on the social media, therefore we did our job. I hope we go to the next level and check whether or not we are doing a qualitative measure and that we have quality in our public participation. It's not necessary for us to reach everyone in the county, but I guess we do need a good sampling, and I hope we do that, the qualitative analysis as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ilo Rivera and then Member Gomez.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to this. And thank you to the APCD staff for developing the plan. I can imagine this took an incredible amount of work, partnership with the groups that helped with the effort. Really appreciate the plan's commitment to offering communications in Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. Super, super important to conduct outreach to the communities that speak those languages. If I can, Paul, I believe my team spoke with you about this and I appreciate your responsiveness. We did want to recommend the offering of key communications in Somali as well. The Somali community is a large and important and very, very impacted community here in San Diego, particularly in the district that I represent. So any additional outreach that can be done in the Somali language could be of a real benefit to the communities that we most want to benefit with efforts like this. But again, tremendous work. Really, really appreciate these efforts, and very, very proud to see the work that that we're doing on many, many fronts like this.
Thank you. Member Gomez.
Yeah, I also just want to thank team Domingo and your team, your mighty team, in working with the consultants as well to really bring this forward and really digging a little bit deeper and engaging and getting the feedback and really bringing forward something that is very reflective of the work that, once again, we need to do to really elevate not only participation, but actually buy-in of what this agency is supposed to do. So there is definitely a lot of work that we have ahead of us, and engagement starts with engagement and real partnerships. So definitely recognize the multilingual and not only just the language, but how it gets delivered. I think it's very critical. I remember as you were developing the process, I brought up the popular education model, and I think that truly is something that can help break down issues that can be complex in a more humane, understandable manner. And I think that's really important, especially because, I think what we oversee, air quality, is very significant, and that it impacts us some more than others. And those that are impacted more negatively, unfortunately, don't get to engage on really influencing what we end up doing. So I think that's the work that is ahead of us. So delivery, engagement, critical. One thing that perhaps as we move forward, I recognize that I know that it took a long time to find a more established timeline for this board. And I say this with a lot of sensitivity. But I think if we can challenge ourselves to perhaps do not every meeting, but a quarterly or something, to even have our meetings in the evenings, I think that could also perhaps engage more people, or even just a yearly tour that we go around and we bring the office to really engage with the community. I think it's just also just something to work towards. But so far, I think we're going in the right direction. We're committing, and that's what's more important. So thank you once again.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, Member Gomez, it was suggested that particularly for like the budget hearings, we are going to have our budget hearing in the evening. We've already put it on our calendar, I think for May 12th. We moved our meeting for the evening one. So we're going to try that one. And I think my hope is that we really do a lot of outreach so that folks can participate in that process. And then as we're creating our agenda moving forward, that we take down your recommendations and include timing, and so that we can make sure that access is another way we do this. So I think, why not? Let's try new things. And hopefully when if the new legislation changes, where we are able to continue to do more work through Zoom for meetings, when it'll allow for us to do things in the evening for traffic purposes and things like that. So we'll see. It's all about opportunities, right, and transparency. All right, let's see who's next. Member Martinez, Member Bush, and Member Medina. I hope I did that right. If not, feel free to jump in if I didn't call your name out right.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Chair. Thanks again to staff for the presentation. Really exciting. I just want to lift up some things that I appreciate everything, but especially that stood out to me was you in one of the slides you mentioned the strategies was showing how community input influence policy. I think is so important because people's time are valuable and our communities are working all the time, and it's really hard for them to even be engaged civically. So showing that the time that they do spend to share their insight with us is valued and utilized and is actually having an impact, I think is very important. So maybe even encouraging you to find, I know, inspirational posts on social media where you share those stories of success, or you share a quote from a community member and how that comment or feedback actually translated to something that we're working on. I think those kind of things are very encouraging and serve as like small wins. And then also just, I'm again blown away by the work and the bilingual slides, and I agree that more languages the better. I think we could serve as a model for many jurisdictions, and also crowdsourcing our resources that we've worked on, right? Like community-based organizations, like having a crowdsourced list that maybe we share with municipalities of, hey, you can reach out to these groups and work with them in your communities. Even the glossary of terms, I think we have that somewhere. I remember seeing that in something that I've read. But that glossary of terms that many times translating things is very difficult for like grassroots organizations. And if that's already there, sharing that with them. So just sharing publicly what we've come up with in this work. So yeah, I'm just really excited. And on our social media, I know that we still have lots of work to do, and I appreciate the work that's been done. Encouraging also using the graphics in other languages, because I know in some cases, like for the border commission or there's something border related that that was posted on Facebook, that's in English and Spanish, but then the rest of the graphics used like for the upcoming budget is only in English. So I think there's some opportunity there to go back and share those in other languages as well. And thank you so much.
Member Bush and Member Medina.
I just want to echo the comments of my colleagues. I like Member Shu's idea of doing, the graphic the demographic analysis. Know that's extra work, so I want to be cognizant balancing that off with the staff capacity, but I do think that's a good idea if we can build that in the medium or long term. Also, Member Gomez and Chair Vargas is having the evening meetings and doing that for budget. I think that's important for engagement too, if not a short-term goal, at least a medium-term goal. And so just great work, staff, and also want to say welcome to our new public information officer, Ms. Melina Mesa. So it's personally for me really good to see fellow Sweetwater alumni in this role working with APCD, but especially someone who's from a community that's been impacted and overburdened with air pollution, high rates of asthma, as we know, and cancer, and all the health disparities that come from vehicles and industry. And it's just so important that we have, as much as possible, staff that has personally experienced that and knows that. So just want to welcome and congratulate Ms. Melina Mesa, and have to give a shout out to just overall staff and our executive director for just continuing to push us forward and just being diverse and equitable in hiring. Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Mr. Medina, Member Medina.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo what every one of my colleagues, members have said, and would like to just take this opportunity to mention something that we commented on previous meeting on this with APCO Orbis, and that is that we should engage our indigenous communities as part of this. And I think that it would be really good to have APCO give us quarterly updates on both this plan as well as the environmental justice plan, to kind of keep the ball rolling and make sure that if we develop, or when we develop metrics, that we as a board have a sense of how we're trying to meet our goals and what we need to do so that we can support both staff and the communities that will help. I don't know if the new website lists this, but it would be helpful if some of the community partners that were engaged in this were listed in our website so that the members of the public can quickly get to them and then express their air pollution concerns so that they can come back to us. So with that, I see Vice Chair Sanchez has her hand out, so I will let her make the motion. I was going to. Thank you, Chair.
You can make the motion and she can second it if you want to.
Okay, I'll make the motion and she can second it.
How about that? Wonderful. We have a motion. And is that what you wanted to do, Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add, thank you, staff. Great job. Thanks for listening to our comments. I especially, I think, mentioned the languages in both at the meetings and also with the materials. And so I really appreciate that. And yes, I'm seconding the motion that includes periodic reports on the demographics would be great. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we have a motion and a second. And I'm going to go ahead and turn over to the clerk so she can call roll.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia,
Birkbeck Garcia, aye.
Member Bush,
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera,
Euler Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez,
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez,
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina,
Aye.
Member Shu,
Shu, yes.
Vice Chair Sanchez,
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Fantastic work. All right, the next item on the agenda is we are going to have a report from our Air Pollution Control Officer, Ms. Forbes. You may begin when you're ready.
Madam
Excuse me,
Vice Chair,
excuse me,
I'm
Chair.
sorry, Chair
Yeah.
Vargas.
Yes.
I would like to note that we did table item
Oh,
E4
I apologize. Go ahead. Sorry.
for the
Yes.
appointment of the hearing board member. And I would like to note that we did table that item, so that will not become a new item per Rosenberg rules. That will simply be an item that is taken off of hold. So we can go ahead and conclude that item now.
Let me go ahead and bring that item back. It was item number 3.
E4. I'm sorry, E3. E3.
All right, so
No, it's item E2.
Actually, it was
E2.
E2, the second half of that item.
Second half of item E2. I apologize.
There you go.
okay. So we are going to go ahead and let's see, begin the process for the interviews for the alternate medical professional member position with Ms. Christine James, Dr. Christine James.
Hi, everyone. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, let me go ahead and turn it over to the clerk, and then she'll proceed to give you details and information.
Sure.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I would like to note for the record that the chair has opened the appointment for the alternate medical professional seat. The applicant will have 2 minutes to briefly introduce themselves, followed by questions by the board, followed by any questions that the board may have. After interviews and any questions and answers or the Q&A, public comment will be received. At the conclusion of any public comment, the board will consider nominations and make appointments. We have one applicant interviewing this afternoon. I would ask Dr. James that she please turn on her video and unmute herself at this time. You will have 2 minutes to provide your statement. Please self-regulate your time. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Christine James. I'm an allergist immunologist at UC San Diego. I'm actually interested in air pollution and air quality. This interest started when I was in fellowship. I actually did research in this area and did what would be considered a community-based participatory research project in which the project itself involved the input from community members to basically figure out, what questions did they want answered by the intervention that we were looking at. So our specific project was about children's asthma and how it's affected by traffic-related airborne pollutants. So I've had, as I said, I've had a long interest in this area, and I would just hope that in being a part of this group, being able to help with improving air quality and really making sure that we're addressing the needs of our community here, and certainly keeping their input in mind, and hopefully also bringing that medical perspective as well to any of the projects or any of the plans that we're considering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from any of the members at this time? Member Elo Rivera?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. James, for putting yourself forward for this this position. Just kind of as a just to make sure we're doing our jobs here. Do you foresee any potential conflicts that you may have in this role, or anything that could inhibit your ability to participate on a regular basis?
That's a great question. I mean, currently right now I am in clinic, but I'm hoping that if I know the schedule ahead of time, that I can adjust my clinic schedule to be able to attend meetings as needed. So I've already actually accounted for that in that way. So.
Great. And Dr. James, just to be clear, you don't foresee any potential conflict of interest?
Oh, no. Yeah. No conflicts of interest.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Dr. James.
Any other questions from any of the members? Member Chu?
Or on the flip side of that, as even though you're alternate on a hearing, I'm wondering if you're available for consultation on air pollution control issues in our district, and not only in the work of maybe APCD but other air pollution issues. I always have a lot of interest in that field, and I'm always looking for people that can give me some great information.
Of course, yes. I'm always happy to answer questions, and if I don't know the answer, hopefully direct you to people who know more about those topics. So yeah, I'm very much interested in having those conversations.
Any other questions? But that's not contingent on her getting her appointment. We're not going to give her more work. So in all fairness to her, hello, sir.
Nice try.
I know. Jeez, I got you, doctor. Just kidding.
Don't worry, Dr. James. He's really a nice guy.
He is absolutely brilliant. Actually, he's one of the best. Any other? Do we have any public comments or any comments on this item, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. We haven't received any. However, if there's anyone on the conference call now that would like to address the board on this item, please press *9 at this time or use the raise hand feature via Zoom. Seeing no hands raised, there's no public testimony on this item.
All right, seeing none, public hearing is now closed for the alternate medical professional member position, and the floor is now, well, it was open for discussion, sorry. Now, is there a motion to support Ms. Christine James as the alternate medical professional member? Ms. Vice Chair Sanchez? And then I'll give it to member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to appoint.
I'll second Gomez.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Chair Vargas. Member Birkbeck Garcia.
Birkbeck Garcia, aye.
Member Bush.
Bush, yes.
Member Elo Rivera.
Elo Rivera, yes.
Member Gomez.
Gomez, yes.
Member Martinez.
Martinez, yes.
Member Medina.
Medina, aye.
Member Shu.
Shu, aye.
Vice Chair Sanchez.
Sanchez, aye.
Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Thank you. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Welcome, Dr. James. We are happy to have
Thank you. Thank you so much, you all.
More information will the team at APCD will follow up with you, and welcome to the team. We're looking forward to having you. The next item on the agenda now, we're going to go back now to item I think
F.
Give me a second. Jeez.
F.
It would be item F, which is the APCD.
No, I know. I'm just trying to situate myself. Give me a second. Everybody just always like. We're gonna go to our air pollution control officer, Ms. Forbes, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Vargas and governing board members. I just have a few quick updates for you today. First, our proposed fiscal year 22-23 budget was posted on Tuesday on the district's website. We will be having 2 public hearings to consider the proposed budget. The first will be May 12th in the evening, and the second will be on June 9th. Next, I wanted to make you aware, you in the public, aware of 3 public meetings and public engagement opportunities that are occurring this month. Next Tuesday, April 19th, we will be holding a public workshop to discuss proposed Rule 45. This would be a new rule for the district that would require major sources of air pollution to pay additional fees if we fail to attain the national ambient air quality standard for ozone by the required attainment date. This rule is required by federal law for all areas classified as severe or extreme non-attainment. And the workshop is going to be next Tuesday via Zoom from 1 to 3 p.m. And we anticipate bringing this rule to your board for consideration in June. Next, on Wednesday, the 20th, staff is going to be holding a public meeting to discuss potential air toxic health risks from welding operations in San Diego County. The district recently posted on its website a map of existing welding operations, as well as more information about the potential health risks from welding emissions. That meeting is going to be held via Zoom from 5 to 7 on the 20th. And information for all the meetings I'm talking about is available on our website. Finally, on Tuesday, April 26th, Pacific Ship Repair and Fabrication will be holding a public meeting to discuss the potential impacts from its emissions calculated under the Air Toxics Hotspots program. The district will attend the meeting to discuss its evaluation of the facility. And the facility is located in Barrio Logan, and a map showing the potential area of impact is on our website. That meeting will be held via Zoom at 5 p.m. on April 26th. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. I just wanted to say thank you for hitting the ground running, to say the least, and all the great work that you have been doing in such a short amount of time, and working so closely with myself and my team and everyone else and everyone on the board. So really, really, really appreciate that.
Thank you. And if I could, I'd like to give a shout out to all the team members at APCD. We have a great team in place. I'm super, super proud. This meeting especially, I think, made me very, very proud of this organization and the folks that have been doing so much work. So thank you. And I pass that thanks on to staff.
Great, thank you. All right, next we're going to move on to the Governing Ad Hoc Committee. The Governance Ad Hoc Committee met on March 30th, 2022. I wanted to recognize that Governing Board Member Marcus Bush was appointed to replace the seat previously held by Councilmember Whitburn. The committee provided feedback on the Office of Environmental Justice Framework that the full board considered today. We had a really robust discussion. We also discussed APCD staff's proposed goals and objectives for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, which will be considered by the full board at 2 public hearings, first in May and then with a final vote in June. And then as a reminder, the May budget hearing we held in the evening at 5 p.m., as it was mentioned earlier today, to provide more opportunity for public participation. That information will be, you should all have that on your calendar already, but I think it would be important for us as the ambassadors of the organization to make sure that we're sharing with folks and inviting people to join us and be engaged in this process. And then finally, the committee discussed the need for more long-term strategic planning and development of board goals for APCD, and potentially starting with a full board retreat this fall. I wanted to make sure that wanted to remind folks that it really is the board's role to set policy, and in addition to our fiduciary responsibility, and so we want to be able to have that discussion as we're moving forward. The next meeting of the governing board will be on May 26th at 11 a.m. And it was a really wonderful, robust discussion. And I think we're headed in the right direction. That's the report from the governing board. Are there any board member updates? Colleagues? All right, seeing none. If there are no other, that concludes our business for today. The next meeting of the Air Pollution Control District Governing Board will be the budget hearings, which will take place on May 12th at 5 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Oh, and happy Easter if you celebrate.
Happy Easter.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.